And welcome everybody, it's Dan, hope you're well today. Welcome to the Marketing and Sales Show. My name is Dan Latto, hope you're well today. So we're going to cover 4 different things in today's session, mostly about sales really, but obviously it's called the Marketing and Sales Show, so I would be remiss, I think is the word, if I didn't also talk about marketing and the impact that that's going to have on your sales, because for me and our business, the two are kind of linked really. Like if you've got a good marketing process in place, your sale is just the end result, whereas for a lot of people sales is the beginning of the process, and I don't think that should be the case at all. The sale should just be the end process of the whole marketing funnel effectively. So let's talk a little bit more about that, because when I used to sell Dell a long time ago, and before we used to sell Dell, I used to work for a company in the north of England, which I didn't really enjoy working at, called Esteem, and but it taught me an awful lot. Right, it taught me an awful lot about sales, and the whole process was very much different. And if that business, which was kind of was 20 years ago now, so it's definitely before the age of social media. And they had a marketing department, and it was just 2 people, and their marketing consisted of writing out to people and getting press reports and PR campaigns and all of that kind of thing. And whilst that kind of thing is really, really good, it was much more difficult to actually progress a sale through marketing back in those days. And obviously now it's very, very different, because we can get a lot of awareness out in the marketplace on social media and Facebook and LinkedIn. We don't have to rely on an editor at the Yorkshire Post thinking, yeah, that's a really good thing, let's put them in their PR. Bear in mind that they had such limited space, and now, because we've got all this technology, we've got unlimited space to get our message out. I could, if I so wanted, in the style of the Truman Show, I could literally live stream 24 hours a day and show you what I get up to every minute of those 24 hours. Now, I wouldn't advise that. I don't think that's very interesting, but we could do. So it's not like we've got a limitation on how much content you can get out. And actually, yesterday we had, I think, 3 or 4 strategy sessions. We've got 2 or 3 today in between all the other stuff that we're doing. Our sales process is really taken off towards the latter end of this year. And the reason why that's actually happened is that the amount of content I've now got going out is huge, right? And it's kind of like this realization that, that's the amount of content you need to be putting out. Whereas before, we were putting out content, but we weren't putting out anything like the amount of content that we're putting out now. And people say, but you shouldn't put too much content out. And I don't think there's actually any weight to this idea that you might be putting out too much content. I think it's actually really difficult to put too much content out. We're putting out a lot of content. We've got 3 video shorts, we've got 1 live, and then we've got all the other pieces of content, images and video and text that go out every single day as well. But you, the people on social media, you're not seeing every piece of content that we put out. You might get a little bit here and a little bit there, and Facebook throttles it, right? And not just Facebook, LinkedIn and YouTube, it throttles it completely. So you've got to be putting out a huge amount of content. So just comparison between where we are today and where we are back in those days. I used to send out, it was a photocopy of we used to sell servers and backup software and hardware. So we'd send out a photocopy of someone whose server had gone down, they'd lost all their data, and the company was now facing going bankrupt. So we would take a photocopy of that, and we'd slap a post-it note on it, and it'd say, saw this and thought of you, Dan, and then we'd put my number on it. And that, we would do cold direct mail campaigns just doing that, and that would get the phone ringing a little bit. Now, of course, we can do whole podcasts and workshop online. We can stream that out. So instead of one-to-one marketing and messaging, we're doing one-to-many marketing and messaging. And so the whole technology that we have now has streamlined your ability to get more sales. But in doing so, it hasn't enhanced people's thought processes in that this technology is available and this is the kind of thing that it can do for your business. So, for example, if I was a brand new plumber, would I be doing leaflet drops? Hell yeah, I'll be doing leaflet drops within a mile or two of my house, right? Number one. Number two, would I be posting online using different postcode areas that are close to where I live and would I be going to the local pub's Facebook page and commenting on that so people got to know me, that I was a plumber and I was in that local area? Of course. Would I be then live streaming about plumbing and boilers and whatever else, and about, things that can go wrong with boilers in December? Of course I would. And so that whole process now to build awareness has definitely changed. But I also think that you should be pre-selling what you do right now. So a sale doesn't happen when someone sees your website and then decides to buy. I don't think that happens. I think a sale happens when people see you out there with your content out there and they are constantly building up some kind of relationship with you in some way, form or another. So you have to put content out. That's really the only way of doing that. Unless you're going to go knocking on doors and introducing yourself, which is a thing that used to happen in the 50s and the 60s and 70s and 80s, and then obviously had newspapers and TV and radio, but again, for TV, newspapers and radio, you had to put an awful lot of marketing into those for them to even get noticed. And I just said it in a strategy call yesterday or the day before. You want your own TV advert, you've got YouTube and Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter and everything else. You want your own newspaper, you've got Facebook, LinkedIn and Twitter and everything else because you've got long form written copy. If you want to do, if you've got your own radio, you want your own radio station, you've got your own podcast show. Why have you not got your own podcast show? So, like, for example, this show will go out onto our podcast show, the Daniel Latto podcast. Interestingly enough, that's what it's called. And so you've got all these platforms available to you, but it doesn't cost anything to start pre-selling your customers. They don't even know that they need you, but when they know that they need what you do, there's a good chance that they're going to come to you because they've already seen you. That's how sales has evolved with technology, and you need to be embracing technology more. And then also, one of the other things that you can do, we do a lot of strategy sessions at the moment for clients who are interested in websites or content or Facebook ads or funnels or whatever it happens to be, right? Serviced accommodation websites, for example, is very popular right now. We're selling some of those. But we use a CRM, which stands for Customer Relationship Management. And so we use a sales system that's built into a CRM. We use ActiveCampaign. And what that allows us to do is send out emails to people, allows us to see who opens an email. So if we send an email out about websites and 10 people open it, there's a good chance they might need a website, right? So we can drop them another email saying, hey, I noticed you're interested in an email, why not book a strategy call? Then we get them onto a strategy call, and the software updates that have now booked a strategy call. And then that allows me to use the deal part of the CRM to then follow through. So if I was to look at my CRM right now, let's have a look and see what it says. So we've got, on our CRM, we've got to contact. These are people that we need to contact. Where we've got a phone call scheduled. So it's like we've been in contact, we've organised the phone call, we've then done the phone call, so we've got a phone call completed, and then we've got a follow-up, usually a couple of days after, and then we have a 2-week follow-up, and then we have an agreed waiting for payment, and then after that we've either lost the deal or the deal goes into we've won the deal. And so we have a system that's built into our processes for our sales to make sure that we don't miss out on anybody. We're not using memory. So let's say we had a guy and he wants Facebook ads, and I spoke to him on the phone 2 weeks ago. I'm not relying on me to remember to message him an email. All I do is when we need to make sales, I go to my sales CRM system. I go, oh yeah, I spoke to that guy. I need to follow him up. Hey Bob, it's Dan. Facebook ads, we spoke 2 weeks ago. You wanted to get started. Are you ready now? Yeah. Okay, let's go. So using technology can enable you. And by the way, this technology is not new. CRM and sales follow-up software. I worked at another company called Cross Products who used to do a product called Snasm. Do you remember the old Sega Mega Drives? They used to use the old 6800 chips. And so using a computer and using a Snasm, you could program a Sega Mega Drive for games. And we used to sell a lot to Nintendo to Sega, sorry. Although they sold Nintendo products as well. But they would sell lots of these boxes to Sega developers to create the software. And I remember my boss back in the day, and it was all text-based, none of this fancy graphics and so on. It was all text-based and MS-DOS back in those days. But he had a CRM system. That was 1993. That was 30 years ago. Goodness me, I'm old. And I remember him using that. It was 91 to 93, I think I was there. But these CRM systems have been around for ages. Why using memory? And before that, of course, we used pen and paper. You would have a sales pad or a spreadsheet that's on a piece of paper. I don't know what those used to be called before spreadsheets existed. But they've always been around. But most people don't use them in the business. And I'm like, why are you not using that in your business? There's a system here to avoid you forgetting because memory fails. But pen on paper or using a computer system, as long as you have backups, of course, then that's going to work. And then once you've got the CRM system, hopefully you want to a sales call of some kind. And one of the big things that I see quite often, when you phone, a really good example is, when you want to buy a second-hand car, a used car. So you phone them up, you want auto trading, you phone them up, and is that Ford Sierra? Let's use a Ford Sierra. I can't think of a more recent car. Is the Porsche 911 still for sale? I suppose some of this will depend on where they are and the level of cars. But honestly, we were trying to buy a Ferrari at one point, and we went to JCT 600 Ferrari. A friend of mine was buying it. He turned up in a Ferrari, and I turned up in this gorgeous 911, this convertible car that I just bought for 40 grand. They treated us like absolute crap, quite frankly. No rapport, no interest in who we were. We turned up in two fancy cars. They just weren't interested because we looked young at the time. We were 29 at the time, 29, 30. Just ridiculous. And it's like, but going back to the second-hand car salesperson, he picks up the phone and they grunt at you. And it's like, dude, I'm trying to buy a car off you. At least sound like you're semi-interested. Which kind of moves us on to these building rapport during sales calls. So another really good example is when we used to buy houses below market value because people were going through whatever problems they were going through, divorce or a death in the family, they've been left a house, or they were going through some financial difficulty. So on that phone call where they'd fill in a form, they'd come to us, and then we would have to get into a first phone call with them. The amount of rapport that we would have to build with those guys was huge. Right? And so there's really simple things that you can do, like just smiling on a call. Even though they can't see your smile, the smile comes through. And now, of course, because we use technology and we use video technology, right? So now we like to see people. Rather than a phone call, which we really don't like and we never really liked those. If we can see people, if we can get in front of someone even better, but often it's 2023, we're not getting in front of anybody when we live 1,000 miles away in Spain. But now we can get them on a video call and we can see what their reactions are. And we can be nice and friendly. We can talk about the dog and the kids and where are they and the things that are in the background. I've got a Captain America shield in the background. One of my clients has got a Iron Man mask. We're both in our 50s. And he's got an Iron Man, and I've got the American Captain America shield, and so it gives us something to talk about, to build rapport, and to have jokes and funny. Or sometimes they're in the car because they've pulled over because they're late to the meeting, or sometimes they're in a park and we're walking the dog, which is really cool. So we talk about dogs. So we're not even talking about business at that point. We're building rapport to get people to like each other. And it's almost like there's a scene in The Wolf of Wall Street where he goes over to Switzerland, I think it is, to Geneva, I think. And obviously their Swiss banking is really tight, and they have a lot of, it used to anyway, not so much these days, but used to be very anonymous and so on. And so there was a scene in that film where they go, oh no, we have 10 minutes of, chit-chat, because it's very French sounding. I think it was Switzerland. We have 10 minutes of chit-chat before they get into business. And Wolf of Wall Street just wants to get down into business. But that's not real life either. Might have been back in his day. But these days, we also want to get into chit-chat. We want to find out about the people. What makes them tick? What are they interested in? What are the connection points that we can meet with them? What have we got in common? That's what a connection point is. These little connection points during the call that allows us to connect with the person that we're having the call with. And you start building rapport. And a lot of salespeople who fail in their sales, they don't build this. I worked at First Direct. I've had a lot of jobs, by the way. But I worked at First Direct, and I used to get told off because I wouldn't make the 9 calls an hour that I was supposed to make, whatever it is. I would be doing like 7 calls. This was selling car insurance. But I was one of the top sales guys at the time. And I'm like, but dude, it's because I'm building so much rapport into these phone calls. We've literally had it where our insurance quote was more expensive than the next one, but we were selling the features and benefits of our insurance, and we'd sell more insurance even though our insurance was more expensive. The reason why we were doing that is because we built so much rapport. And if there's one thing that you need to build in your sales calls, it's not more bells and whistles and reasons why and all of that kind of thing. It's building rapport. This is the thing that makes the difference. Because when you're building rapport, you can replace the word rapport with trust. You need to be building trust. Not only do people need to know and like you, they've got to trust you. And if they don't trust you because you've not built enough rapport, that's usually where the sale's going to fall through. And then before you get onto that sales call, I should say, there are content marketing strategies that you've got to be putting in place. So, for example, me walking the dog on a beach. That's a really nice piece of content because it shows that we're living an aspirational lifestyle, perhaps. We did one where we had the kids, my daughter and her best friend were on the beach, and we did a video about that, and that shows family man, right? And then we're doing another one where I'm driving over to CrossFit and we're giving technical advice that can help people grow their business. So that's building expertise and trustworthiness and likability. And then we might be creating some content where I'm just lifting weights at CrossFit. And then that's, what's that building? Well, that's building perseverance and looking after oneself and how important that is. And so we're building all these different types of content which lead us up to where we need to be to get people onto those strategy calls in the first place. And so you need to be asking yourself, what are your content marketing strategies that are going to enable your potential customers to get you on a phone call, get you onto a video call, get into a strategy session, to book a meeting, to come and have a chat with you, to book you in to fix their boiler or whatever it happens to be, as opposed to the other 100 plumbers that could be in their phone book, right, in the yellow pages or whatever people use these days. So you've got to be producing these content pieces, and this is pre-sales right now. This is not the sales process where you're getting the close, but it's for pre-sales. And I would argue that the pre-sales is, I don't think it's more important, but it's as important as the sales process itself. It is part of the sales process. Calling it pre-sales kind of undermines its authenticity and how powerful a pre-sales function is, but we can't think of a better way of calling it, so we call it pre-sales. But it is part of the sales process. The actual closing is the very end, it's the very last step. And I would even argue it shouldn't be the last step, because once you've sold it, you've got to avoid buyer's remorse. Oh gosh, it's £1,000 and I spent that £1,000 and now I'm not sure. So we need to get on another call maybe, or we need to email them to go, okay, these are the next steps to avoid that buyer's remorse. So now they're kind of confirming that they've made the right steps and that they want to continue and don't want to cancel in kind of some way and so on. Anyway, look, I hope that's useful for you. I really enjoyed that one. It was a really good session. Anyway, I hope that's useful. We will catch up with you on the next one tomorrow. My name's Dan Lotto. Have a wicked day and take care.